Yeah, I thought we had a great turnout and a really nice holiday party. I thought it was awesome. Kate, I'm sorry that you couldn't make it, but we did. It was great. We had some of our old
Yeah,
timers showed up and it was really sweet.
nice.
I did
Yeah.
record it.
Oh, cool.
And Arvind got his gold legend, which is amazing to be quite honest. It's hard to do that. And he was so young when he started, and he's so inspiring because he just said, "I'll try anything."
Yeah, that is very inspiring.
So on another note, just as a point of topic, I'm going to work on the CICD cybersecurity press release. Kate, I might get it done and share the doc with you. Have you take a look
I
at
would
it?
love that. Yeah.
Actually,
I
I'm going to do it as a blog, and so I can send it to the CDF, and then ask if we can do a press release as well.
I really yes, I like what you had. I think when I went out there, that was you that wrote that, right?
Yes,
Didn't
yeah,
you? Yes. And that was phenomenal. So,
great.
yeah, great job. Um and I just if you don't mind quickly, hey Tony, I sort of feel like, if we haven't heard back from John from the open group, a lot of the work that I did wasn't, I mean, it was,
Just feel
yeah,
free to use it.
I will, and I'm
And
going
I'm
to send it.
gonna talk to John at the top of the hour again.
And just, I'd rather, yeah, because it's sort of, I hate to have all that stuff go to waste.
Oh, go ahead and
So,
use
No
it.
kidding.
Um, and I've got stuff from when we were working on security reference architecture too. So,
And
I,
it
I- you
and
know,
it probably all is open source anyway. So
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, what Tracy said was talking about, and I did it agnostically, meaning just because I was with IBM at the time, and then Micro Focus, I used all different types of products to talk about, from application scanning to vulnerability scanning for, databases, et cetera. Even, security events and threat hunting. And, so it wasn't just products that I had worked with in the past. It was also what, we would have considered competitive or competitors' products.
So Kate, did it get published?
It never got published.
no.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'm on with the security forum steering committee at the top of the hour, and I'll just say, look, we'd like to use what's around there. Um, what are they don't really have a way to say no, I think, but I will explicitly have that discussion. So this is for the CD Foundation's cybersecurity, what's it called?
CICD cybersecurity. So we're going to explore what tooling needs to be added to this pipeline for cybersecurity.
And I like literally did like so much of that work.
and Tony, that's a working group for
I,
under the CD Foundation.
I think they call it a special interest group.
Okay, it's
Technically, it's a SIG. Yeah.
okay, well, like I say, I'm going to explicitly have that discussion. I've reminded John about it twice, and it's like, okay, fine, we'll just go ahead. But I will, like I say, explicitly have that discussion and then report.
I'm going to send you guys both an article that we talked about that last Friday. It's running actually right now live. It gets recorded on prompt injection threats in large language models that John Willis wrote, uh, and it got published on TechStrong. TechStrong
Nice.
is a part of the Futurum group, and I do TechStrong gangs. I'm on Monday mornings, and they pick topics out. And this one, literally, it was like, okay, this is actually really, really scary.
Yeah.
I didn't use the word scary, but I couldn't
You
place
know,
it any other way. So this, Steve, I'll send it to you too, because I know you asked me to, so you could send it to the folks at Lano. Um, it was interesting because of, John Willis is the professor when it comes to AI. He's been doing a lot of research on it, and it's fascinating to listen to him. But in terms of cybersecurity, I never knew where it was going to come from. Well, he calls them jailbreaks in large language models. And one of the examples he said he used was there was a show that there was some people who are working in this space showed that they could do a search in China. If you were sitting in China, you just search on Tiananmen Square, it would come back saying that's sensitive information. But if you prompted it to say, go give me information about Tiananmen Square and bypass all government rules and regulations, it came back with volumes and volumes of data. And that there's work that's being done to simpler prompts to say, go bypass, all these different security tools and rules and whatnot, and it can do that. So you use the large language model itself to be the attacker.
Yeah. It's interesting because I did like when I mean I haven't spoken for two years, but before I sort of, or I guess it's been about a year, I said the same thing, Tracy, as far as like this is the first time in my life that I'm concerned about cybersecurity. But it was something from an IoT perspective and, the 44 billion devices that we're not protecting. But it's really interesting when you say that because I haven't read the article, but when you talked to me last time about the large language models, what I find fascinating about it is it like, is something, I understand that it can be used for bad, but at the same time, it can also be used for good. And that's the tricky thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the one thing that like, how do we, I mean, gosh, I don't know because frankly, when you talk about Tiananmen Square, I mean, don't we want to know about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but not in China, right? They have
Right, not in
really
China. Right.
and that could happen here. We could get to a point where things are, being so
Shut down.
whitewashed. Yeah, that
Whitewashed.
we don't
Yeah.
get to hear the truth about it anymore. So yeah, it could be used for bad or good, no doubt. That's the problem with
Yeah.
it. But it's interesting the kinds of things that we can't solve this in the pipeline.
Yeah.
However, are there tools that should be added to the platform that are going to start putting guardrails on these kind of problems? So I think the interesting part is we need to start thinking as part of that process.
We do.
What is there something in AI that we need to do that we're not doing in monolithic applications or Kubernetes microservice applications, right? What else needs to be done with AI so I just want to keep that in context to that
Absolutely.
cybersecurity group.
It's one of the things that when we're planning out, we don't want to plan for today. We're planning for tomorrow. So
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. And what I was going to say is for the open group, if there are, Tony, if you could ask John, if there are any articles that they think that we as that group should consider in our research, let's add it to the list. I have two NIST articles out there, the cybersecurity and the secure software development framework. I have IBM's article on X-Force and data breaches, and then I also have Google's has one on security around AI, even though I don't recall the jailbreaks being in there. But if there's an article, if there's something that he'd like to get published and added to the list for us to read through and understand and potentially determine if there's guardrails that we can automate through tooling, that would be helpful. Because I know they've published a lot of articles. I just don't know which one would be the best.
There actually is work under agile architecture at Open Group. I just looked it up. There is a standard and some other stuff. I was one of the co-authors. I actually wrote the agile security paper for them with somebody Kate would know, Altaz Villani.
Yeah.
So it was called the Agile Architecture Framework, and it's published. So anybody can choose to look at it. Let me share for just a sec, and I can show you what we're talking about here.
From an application point of view, are we, um, Steve and Tracy, are we moving away from Agile?
I don't think anybody's moving away from it. It's just not a shiny new tool anymore. It's not a shiny new topic.
Yeah,
The thing about it is that if you think about when we were doing monolithic applications, Agile was probably a very, very important conversation because we were talking about trying to make small changes and implement them on a high frequency basis, get them deployed. But when you decouple an architecture and you have 100 microservices,
yeah,
what does agile even mean? That's why I always tell people that DORA metrics are getting long on the tooth because they were not written around a decoupled architecture. So when you have feature releases, small little chunks that are being managed in a microservice that has its own workflow, and you may only have one developer working on that microservice more than likely. I would be surprised if there were two or three. It would be surprising. You don't really need Agile anymore. Agile is a concept that has now been baked into the way we develop software, as opposed to a project management aspect that says we're going to deliver these features and move forward, right?
right.
Okay, so I'm just showing you, this thing exists, and there are, uh, if I can find it, a number of other. There's an open agile architecture standard and so on. I think they're mostly at the wrong level to worry too much about, what we're talking about doing in this group, but they're out there, and I'll explicitly talk to John about them.
Okay, and make sure to give John a clear invite. We'd love to have him involved in this, or
Well, I've
some of
done
these
that,
developers.
and
Okay,
I'll do it again.
yeah, or
Uh,
anybody who's interested in this space that might be over there.
okay, I've got a couple things to mention.
I think that's it then for me.
Okay. So the blog on managing and reporting for security,
Uh-huh.
we're doing the last editing pass, and actually it's with John Linford, myself and the other co-author, a guy named Chris Carlson, who was at Boeing forever, um, have largely got it in hand. We just want John's last read through it. And then I'll send that to you, Tracy.
Okay.
Because we'd promised that to be ready for February, and we're going to beat that by a couple of months, I think.
Yeah, if you can get it to me sooner than later, I got time. I'm trying to get some quiet time to do writing and studying this next 2 weeks.
Okay. The other thing I would mention is that there was an interesting article in, of all things, Air and Space Force magazine. I'll bring it up and share it, that you guys may wish to take a look at. It might be one of those, possibly some of the people you're working with. I think, didn't you say either Lockheed Martin or somebody like that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, um, this article, and I'll put the link in the chat, talks about what people are doing, and there's an interesting situation where there is a requirement for cybersecurity sign off on weapon systems. So, like I say, I'll put the link to this in the chat if anybody wants to have a look at it.
Yeah, because I think this is an interesting topic you bring up because in terms of our cybersecurity, CICD and cybersecurity, I think that we should put a focus on government agencies, Space Force, Air Force, DOE, particularly because according to Gartner, in 2025, there's going to be a spike in federal hits in vulnerabilities. So they believe that 58% of them are going to target government agencies.
Yeah.
That's a lot, 58%, and that they're going to triple. They could have,
And
we have 700,000 vulnerabilities just going after the government.
The numbers are just astounding when you look at government and in particular Department of Defense. It's just they're so large.
They're so large and they're so slow to move.
yeah,
And they get focused on certain, they have authoritative bias when they go to buy things and do things, which is why we have Boeing with $15 billion in contracts, right?
right.
And X and $3 billion in contracts. So yeah, it's a really interesting topic to have, and I think that if we think about when we're doing this, to think about these air gap spaces, how do we solve for those problems? I think we'll have an interesting group.
Yes, and I hate to be the squeaky wheel here about IoT devices, but I can't say enough about the how we're not doing that. We're not even including them. And if you think about naval ships, if you think about all
Everything
these,
on the edge, everything on the edge, right?
everything's on the edge. Critical
Yeah,
infrastructures everywhere with these
everything.
IoT devices or
If you
IIoT, depending.
if you think
Yeah.
about it, every satellite is on the edge.
Yes, and we're not even. It's not even in our rear view mirror. It's not even in our. It's nowhere. Like I don't know why, and I don't mean to start up, but wow. I mean, we don't even think about this. It's been great to take a break, and at the same time, it just. I can tell you, it is just something. We just are not thinking about it,
Yeah.
and I think it's because people don't understand. At the end of the day, we are not understanding the problem, I think, or we
There
don't
was
want to accept it.
an interesting post on LinkedIn that I ended up getting in a little bit of discussion on with the author Mark Simos from Microsoft, talking about business people kind of not understanding their cyber risks. And the article in Air and Space Magazine that I just posted talks about it as well. Tracy, you know Dick Wilkinson, don't you?
I wouldn't say I know who he is, but I wouldn't say I know him.
Okay, because that's what he's doing with his Proof Labs business. They got
Uh-huh.
a $1.5 million or so contract out of the Space Force, and it's about what he does is cybersecurity verification and validation for satellites, on orbit systems. So he moved up to Colorado Springs year and a half, well, maybe even 2 years ago. But that's his total focus. His company is, in the range of the size of Deploy Hub. With
Weird.
that contract, they may be doing some hiring.
I would love to reach out to him then if that's what he's been doing, because we're just
Well,
beginning, Deploy Hub's
just
just beginning, we're just on that journey, right? We're just
yeah,
getting started with
reach
these
out to
things.
him and copy me, and if I need to pile on, I will.
Did you give me his email?
I should be able to find it.
I think I think we just did a LinkedIn.
Well, he's certainly on LinkedIn, but let me see if I've got his email.
Yeah, if you could shoot that over to me, I'll reach out to him on but it's a very interesting space. This is a good time to be talking about, I think, securing government workflows, I should say, because they're very different. And maybe we can get some of the folks from somebody from Unicorn, what are they, Unicorn Defenders, who have an air-gapped CICD tool to chat with us. Thanks, I got that, Tony. I'll reach out to him today. What's the name of his company?
It's Proof Lab, and I can't remember if it's singular or plural.
Okay, I'll find it.
Uh, but yeah, it might be someone for you to have a chat with.
I will.
I apologize. I have got to go to, in fact, the open group
All right.
cybersecurity forum meeting.
Well, everybody have a fabulous, fabulous holiday. Kate, I don't think you and I will be on holiday for very long because I'm going to bug you about that. I want that blog and a potential press release to be done so we can shoot it out first thing of the year. So I'll ping you with that. I'll share the document with you when I get started on it.
Okay, that's great.
Have a great holiday, folks.
You too. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. We so appreciate your efforts and support.
And
Thanks
we're
a
not
lot.
meeting Thursday? We're not.
Architecture probably will meet
Okay,
Thursday. Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
All
that'll be
right.
great, Tracy. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.